Okay. So today, my guest is a man with a history in the military, professional football, and bodybuilding, and whose extensive acting work often includes characters that are bad guys and monsters. All my spell worders and Charm fans will know him as the man behind favorites like Balthazar and Shax. Please welcome Michael Bailey Smith.
Hey, how are you? Thank you,
How,
Kevin. It's nice. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was good to see you at the Days of the Dead as well. So,
yes, it's very exciting. We got to meet beforehand, so that was fun.
yeah,
So I how was your con experience? Like that was your first one in a while, like 10 years you told me, I think.
yeah, it was a while. After I did the Hills of Eyes, I did like I went on a run of doing them like for the next probably 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and I just get kind of burned out from it. Because I was still doing the acting thing pretty hard, and so yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to take a break, so it ended up being about 10 year break. So
Okay.
it's all good. And then yeah, good. Then Peter Lauren reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to get back in the game again?" So I said, "Okay."
Cool. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are would be excited to see you, like I was. There are a lot of Charm fans, a lot of Hills of Eyes fans, a lot of people who are fans of your work. So yeah. Do you plan to do more cons or is this just something that's
Yeah, Peter wants me to do a couple next year be more in the winter time. The fall I can't because I have two awesome. Me and my wife have two awesome sons who play college football. So during the fall, on the weekends we're traveling to go see them play. So fortunately, at Days of the Dead, it was when the kids, both the boys, didn't have games, so I could go do that show. So it worked out pretty well.
that's perfect. Yeah,
So
football season is a big thing for you then.
yeah, it is. It's we're pretty blessed to have two incredible sons that are athletic. That love the game of football, and so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what I really appreciated is when I saw you, you noticed that I go to the gym too. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, you work out, dude. I used to compete in bodybuilding. All those things, and so yeah, it's been
yeah,
I appreciate when someone spends time in the gym and wants to build their body. That's always a good thing. So
yeah, yeah.
that's not a weird thing. It's just
No,
I appreciate it. So
right,
yeah,
and
it's not easy. If it
it.
was easy, everybody walk around
That's
being
true.
yoked out, right? So
That's
yeah,
true. But it was really kind of a really nice thing because here's the guy who's like super massive, super big. I'm like, and he's noticing me. I'm like, oh, I was very happy. So that was thank you. I really appreciated
yeah,
that. Brian, when I met Brian Krause, he noticed that too. He's like, you got the guns for it. I'm like, well, thank you.
yeah.
So
Have you
that's
ever
nice.
seen pictures of me like when I used to compete in
Yeah, I
bodybuilding?
have. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a
It's
lot of
pretty
work.
crazy. Yeah, it is. Um, and eating right and things like that. I have to get back to doing the eating right thing. So I still go to the gym and like the other day I was doing dumbbell presses like with 85s, 90s, and for being an old dude, that's not too bad,
Not
so
too
so
shabby. No, no.
yeah, still working on it. So
Yeah, it's always a journey, and I think it's weird when you are into that stuff. It's like you're never really satisfied. You just keep going. You're always on to the next thing.
yeah, I always want to go heavier and heavy. No, it's like anything, right? You want to do always do more, right? So
Hmm.
it's like when I played football, it's like when I was an actor, all those things like that. So now I do a tremendous amount of writing and just had a screenplay option, which is really cool. And so hopefully things go right. It's supposed to start shooting in Detroit in 2022.
That's
Uh,
exciting.
yeah, so the last half, so it'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, so you started off as a pro. No, you were in the military first, and then you did
yes, sir.
football. Um, so I know you talked about this like a million times in every interview you do, but can you talk about how you went from football to acting?
Yeah, so I was, yeah, so I when I was a senior in college, right, I was preseason Playboy All American and all these things like that. They had high hopes for me, and then I hurt my knee 2 days before the first game, which is pretty devastating. I tore my patella tendon, but not all the way, and so my kneecap still stayed in the same spot. But sometimes when if someone hit my leg, it would dislocate my knee, and so I had a the coaches came to me and said, "Hey, So two options. One, you can get your knee operated now, then wait for the draft, the NFL draft, or you can plan on it for the rest of the year. And so I, of course, chose to plan on it for the rest of the year, and that's what I did. And so it was difficult. You get into a block, and then your knee would dislocate, and that's never fun. It's pretty painful. And so, but I fought through it. And by the end of the year, though, it got so bad, I didn't even start because there was a guy ahead of me who was pretty good. Turned out to be his name Evan Hicks. Turned out to be pretty good. And so he took over for me, and I still played. And then, so I got my knee operated on, and then the draft came. I didn't get selected, but the Dallas Cowboys knocked on my door right at the moment the draft ended. They were knocking on my door. Said, "Hey, have you been signed yet?" I said, "No." They said, "Great, we want to sign you." And so I had a few teams talking to me, but that says something, for a guy who had a damaged knee. You still had Dallas Cowboys coming to wanting you, right? So gave me a contract, signed it, went off to camp. And then within a few days of being in camp, I tweaked my knee again and it just blew up like a big balloon. And they just said, yeah, you're not going to. Tom Landry called me in his office and I knew it was over. And he sat me down and said, "Listen, Michael, we had high hopes for you, but your knee's just not going to make last the whole season. And then we have to let you go." So that was it. That was the end of my career. Went back and did some crying, and I was like floundering around, not knowing what to do. And that's, I always hear these stories about, which is my screenplay is about, when I just got optioned. You hear these great stories about athletic endeavors from some guy who beats all the odds and becomes this great football player or a great hockey player or whatever, right? Never hear the story about the guy who's left with nothing. Right? What do you do then? Right? You just, everything you dreamt about, your hopes, everything is gone in an instant, and no one cares anymore. All they say is next. Yeah. It's the next guy, right? So, and it really messes with your mind. A lot of athletes go through that same thing, either if they played in the NFL for a long time, and or like me, who was there to get enough to get a drink of water, right? And so, what do you do? So that's what that story is about, but that's what I did. So for me, I kind of floundered around a little bit. And then my mom called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, just kind of bouncing at a bar, getting in trouble." And, I bounced at a bar and I did get in trouble. I was on trial like twice. The bar backed me up. You throw people out and they sue you, whatever. Right. So, but yeah, so my mom says, "You better get your shit together," in those kind of words, and just said, "You need to graduate." So I did. And I finished my degree in computer science. And I was the first one out of my whole entire family, everybody, period.
Wow.
Brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles that graduate from college. And so I did. And then at the time I was dating some girl who was getting her degree in aerospace engineering. And she said, "Hey, I'm going to California." I says, "Why don't you come with me?" So we went to California together, went to San Diego, and that relationship lasted about a month, if that. And then so I just living in San Diego on Pacific Beach. If you've never been there, it's like paradise. It's nothing but, in the 80s, it's nothing but, hanging out at the beach and, working out at Gold's Gym in San Diego and doing all that stuff. And I befriended this guy named Steve Henneberry, who was he was Mr. Wisconsin. He was a big dude.
Oh, I'm in Wisconsin.
Huh?
I'm in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah. So his name's Steve Henneberry. Maybe you know who he is, but
that's cool.
He was playing Conan, the Adventurer. He was playing Conan at the Universal Studios. They have these live action shows up there, and he was doing that. And he said, "Hey, I'm going up to Los Angeles to read for this movie called Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, playing a bigger version of Freddy Krueger called Super Freddy. Why don't you come with me? And then, we'll go to Gold's Gym. Maybe you can audition. I don't know. And then we'll go to Gold's Gym there in Venice." And so that's what we did. So I was working at Xerox debugging software, and I hated it. I was sitting in a cubicle. I said, "This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life." Right. So nothing wrong with being in a cubicle. Right. I mean, there's plenty of people that do that, but it's not something for me, and so I jumped at the chance, went up there, and I was sat in the foyer, and he auditioned, and they asked me if I wanted to. I said, "Okay, I'll go in there." And they asked, Stephen Hopkins was a director, and he's like, "So, Michael, have you seen those Freddy Krueger movies?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, so we need this big guy who could just laugh and he's scary. Can you do that? Can you laugh like a big, like laugh like Freddy Krueger? I said, all right, let me see what I can do. So I let out this big laugh. He goes, that's awesome. Guess what? You got yourself a job. And I'm like, what? Job? I'm working at Xerox. And then he asked me, well, you have to take a few days off. And so that's kind of how it happened. And so about a week or two later, I was on the set. I remember, got invited. I met Robert England right there the first day, and he invited me to his trailer. I sat in his trailer for about an hour. We talked about Freddy Krueger. I'm like, dude, I remember watching you when I was in the military, Nightmare on Elm Street, just everything. And now I'm sitting, this is freaking awesome, right? So I was just totally starstruck, and then just starstruck about the whole process, cameras and lights and this
whole new world.
And,
yeah,
totally different world. And the set they made was pretty incredible. And just all that, it was all in like black and white, all grays and blacks. And so I had a couple lines. It's called Taft Hartley'd Me, or they made you SAG eligible. And I had my faster than a bastard maniac. I had my first couple lines, and I'm thinking, hey, this is easy, right? Not a big deal. Oh, then I said, I quit my job at Xerox, moved up to Los Angeles, got an apartment with some creepy dude, slept on the floor in the back, and a few nights I slept in my car. And then I just started, I got a job at this test laboratory, testing computer consumer products, writing test scripts for testing and things like that. And then I was as a contractor. But I would do that and go to auditions, and I would study always at night. I'd do scene study and cold reading and improv and audition techniques and theater. I did everything possible to try to learn. And it's funny because a lot of guys that I started with, because I moved up to Los Angeles, I trained at Gold's Gym in Venice, the Mecca bodybuilding, right? And in the late 80s, there's all these big, huge bodybuilders there, and they're all trying to get into acting. You want to be like Schwarzenegger, And that'd have been nice to be able to be another Schwarzenegger, but was no Rock yet.
Sylvester Stallone was big, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You got him, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, all those guys like that, right? So, but I just wanted to work as an actor. I loved to play in different characters. Yeah, the stardom would have came, or that'd have been a different story. But I just wanted to work. And I wanted to make a living out of it and make it a business. And so after Nightmare on Elm Street, I struggled for about a year or two, did a couple little things, but then I got lucky and I landed a movie called CIA Codename Alexa with O.J. Simpson and Lorenzo Lamas and Kathleen Kenmont. And it's one of these like B movie things called PM Entertainment. They did like maybe 30 films a year. This back when there was straight to video kind of situation, And so I did that. I was just supposed to fight Lorenzo Lamas, and the director goes, hey, say this line. Oh, that's pretty good. Say this line. Oh, that's pretty good. So they had a writer there, and he wrote all this stuff that I became the fourth lead in the film. And it was great. I had my own Michael Bailey Smith, single card, the whole situation. I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. And then I landed, I did a TV show after that. I did with Lorenzo Lamas called Renegade. And while in the middle of filming that, they said, hey, there's this movie we want you to read for. It's called The Fantastic Four with Roger Corman, that whole situation. So I read for that, and I played, I won it. I won that role, and I got played Ben Grimm, the thing, it's clobbering time, that guy. So, and just kind of went from there, right? Just kind of grew.
Right. Lots of things. Robert Englund came on Charmed while you were still on the show. You just weren't in that episode.
Yeah. Oh, did he really? Okay.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of season 4, episode 5, Size Matters. I'm like, if Cole was in that episode, you could have totally like fought Robert Englund. Wouldn't it be cool if like Balthazar and like Freddy fought? That would have been, I don't know, that would have been fun.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think it just goes to show, that when you get an opportunity at something, and it's something that you feel that it's what you want to do and you have passion about, fine, you just freaking got to go for it. You just got to do whatever it takes to make it. That doesn't mean you got to go and get naked and do bad things or do drugs with the producer. I don't mean that. I mean, you got to work on your tools, I went from playing football and, my degrees in computer science to to being an actor. So it's totally went from, right brain to left brain, creative, or which way the brain is, I forgot, but from being an analytical guy to being a creative person. And it was great. And I approached it very methodically, like an athlete, right? So I studied hard. I trained. I wasn't out partying and chasing chicks and all this like a lot of guys did. I didn't do that. I wanted to make a living out of it. So
you were serious.
I like your book over your shoulder. It said,
it's on the Balthazar page for you today. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I have quite an extensive Charmed collection.
I see that. Do you have a Charmed? Do you have a Balthazar action figure?
Oh, funny you mentioned that. I have them all sitting here for a couple different things. Well, I have the one you have. This is the one that was by Soda Toys.
Oh yeah.
Yes. There was an inaccuracy though. They gave him a fireball. I'm like, no, he did not have fireballs. He had energy balls, but make sure. This one came with the Box of Shadows. They made like a little animated one. Badass. Yes, yeah, that's very cool. Kind of like a Shrinky Dink type of thing.
Yeah, I get no money for those. They did none of that. Even like the action figure, nothing. So I remember them putting me in some kind of a black booth thing, and they did like a 360 scan of my head.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just like you. There you go.
Except for the mouth of teeth, but besides that, there's a lot of teeth there.
And then I have this guy. This was made.
Wow, there you go.
This was a custom figure made by a friend of mine that used to make all kinds of Charmed props and stuff. Yeah, cool. And it's your signature coat here, that you've used.
I like it.
Yeah. So
I still have that jacket.
Right. So that's exciting. And you used it on another film, right?
I thought I did. Then I looked at it. I go, nah, I didn't do it. I think I used maybe for the audition.
Okay.
But I didn't do for they got me a regular long jacket. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I have that jacket too.
Are you because you do a lot of like horror movies and like, those things. Are you a fan of like the horror genre, or is it something that you just kind of like you do? Because like Nev Campbell, like she does all the Scream movies, but she's like doesn't watch them because she's afraid of them. So
yeah, I'm kind of the same way. My wife, on the other hand, is a huge horror fan. She like sometimes when I'm in my office writing, and so I'm not out there in the living room, she's cranking on I can hear horror or whatever. She's big into like demons and witches and all those things like that. It's all that supernatural stuff she loves, and I hate that. I remember when her and I went to the premiere of The Hills Have Eyes, right? So we're sitting there watching it. She sits next to me. All of a sudden I jump. I'm like, she's going, what are you jumping for? You're in the movie. I said, but I wasn't in that part.
Right. I don't know. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it wasn't that. So all the parts I'm in, I know, right? I'm not scared of it. It's never really scary when you're actually, making a horror film. But they're fun. I mean, how often do you get to, like I did one film short called Girl Number 2. It's really good. And I played a guy who used a sledgehammer to kill all these sorority chicks. And so that's fun. I mean, it's just, when else can you really do that in real life, right? Without getting in trouble.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I wouldn't consider myself like a horror kind of sewer or like a big horror junkie. I appreciate like eeriness, and I appreciate like thrills, and I like a little bit of mystery and like that kind of thing. But I'm not like into like the whole violence necessarily. So it's like I can watch them, but it has to have a good story for me to be invested in it.
Agreed. I mean, that's with anything, right? So an action film, like there's a lot of times, there's some of these action films you see. It's all about visual effects, and it's like all this action's happening in 2 seconds, but where's the story wrapped around it? And, for me, I like a movie when I walk away from it, I'm still thinking about it the next day, going, damn, that was a good movie, or damn, that really, that's something about that character really did something. And that's kind of how when I write, I've written some stuff that's kind of, fluffy, fun, popcorn eating things, but I also like stuff like Shawshank Redemption, those kind of movies that kind of you walk away and go, damn, that's good.
Yeah, it makes you think, it really gives you something to ponder. And those are good movies. Yeah.
I agree.
I'm kind of you mentioned Fantastic Four. I'm kind of a Marvel fanboy. I'm not like crazy, but I do like Marvel movies and stuff. And that Fantastic Four still wasn't like officially released anywhere, right? It was put it on YouTube.
It was shelved. So there's a whole like thing on that. There's a whole documentary on
Doomed. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, and it's funny. People's like, well, don't you feel bad that it got shelved? I'm like, yeah, at the time. But if you think about it, if it was released, it would have went out. People maybe, it might have got some legs. I don't know, but it would have been panned like, it's a crappy, low budget, attempt to do a Marvel, film, much like like what they did with like Captain America or, or the Punisher and things like that back in the day, right?
Like
So
David Hasselhoff was like the Punisher, wasn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so my thing is that it would probably been panned the same way. But when
Yeah.
it happened, it got shelved, right? So then this let a lot of wonderful people got behind it and told stories about it, and it just built up this cult following, right? You can go to cons and find bootleg copies of it, and
Yeah.
just and there's still articles being made about it, still being compared, and people have said that story of the Fantastic Four is better than the ones that they've done with the $100 million budgets,
Right.
So, and I think that's the important thing is story, right? So you always got to tell a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then it just falls flat. People are like, yeah, whatever. I wasted,
Yeah.
$18 for a movie ticket or whatever, how much it costs nowadays. So
Yeah. Well, it's good. I feel like there's definitely like heart. I didn't see it, but watching what I watched about it, I feel like there's definitely effort made and there was heart, from people, the actors like you were committed to that movie. So
yeah, it was I had an acting coach for a long time named Jeremiah Comey. And he said that when you get your first break, you really got to sink money back into the film, promotionally wise, to really kind of boost your career, right? So when that happened, me and Alex Hyde White, who played Reed Richards, we hired a publicist, and I paid for all that. I spent about maybe $12,000, $15,000 of my own money, you know, for that guy, and then all the promotional stuff, and flying people around and all that stuff like that. So we got the conventions to pay for some of that on the flights, but we went and signed autographs for free and all promotionals. I remember one time flying back from Florida, we're on the plane. This is in the early '90s, and didn't have everything was still VHS, and I had the trailer of the Fantastic Four on VHS, and so I asked the flight attendant, "Can you pop it in the VHS player?" And they did, and the whole plane saw the trailer for the Fantastic Four
all fun.
play, and it got a huge ovation. And at 30,000 feet, it was pretty awesome. So
Great. I love that.
yeah,
I
pretty
guess
cool.
I guess we'll get into like charm stuff because this is the charm podcast. We'll do the charm
Yep,
stuff.
yep,
So your first appearance was in All Hallows Eve in season 3. When
yep.
you auditioned for Charmed, did you know you were coming in for a Grimlock, or was that something that was?
No, that I knew that I was going to come in for the Grimlock. And then I had hair, so I slicked my hair back, and then after I got the role, or no, when I went in, they said, "Now, are you willing to shave your head?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And so I got the role, and I've kind of made it a family affair with the whole shaving the head. So I shaved my head. My wife shaved it for me. I only had my older son now. He was young at the time. He was only like, I don't know, 5 or 6, whatever it was. So he wanted to shave his. I was like, no, you're doing that. So shaved my head, and then I ended up doing that role. And that kind of character is kind of in my wheelhouse. I love those stoic type of very minimalistic characters where not a lot of words, and fortunately they say I have a good face for prosthetics or for makeup, the visuals. I don't know if that's good or bad, but they say my face, works well in that.
Oh.
So, and it was great, and it worked out well. I remember I was reading back. I'm gonna blow away this website, but it was part of I had a blog or little thing that I did on my website back in the day. And I remember I read about the episode of that, and it was quite interesting on how I was mentioning that the producers were coming up to me and say, "Hey, you're doing a great job. We hope to have you back." Whatever. Oh, great. And I'm just thinking it's going to be for another Grimlock, right? And then, like on the last day, my manager was like calling me. I'm filming, right? I finally get back to the trailer on a break, and she goes, "They want you back." I said, "Great." I said, "As Grimlock?" She said, "No, some character named Beltazor." And so that's what happened. And I guess from what I heard, they had hired somebody else, like a stunt guy, to do it, and they wanted more of an actor.
Mm.
So that's why I did it. And then, I brought my own flavor. I remember sitting down with Julian McMahon, and who's a freaking phenomenal dude, man.
Yeah.
I think in middle of that season, I did a play called Doing Judy. And it was a play about these Judy Garland impersonators.
Oh, wow.
And someone was killing them all off. And I played this gay cop who likes to dress in drag. And let me tell you, there is nothing more scary than me in a pair of pumps and a bustier,
Wow.
mini with a pink skirt and purple tights. And
where are the photos of that?
Yeah, it's scary. Let me tell you. I got a lot of dates though out of that. So nice. A lot of people like wanting to go out with me. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm swing that way. But anyway, but he came to the play. It was awesome.
Oh, very fun.
He loved it. So it was really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, so just playing that character was great. And me and Julian sat down, went over, how he would play it. And after a while, I got to know how he would play it. So we didn't have to talk much after that. And plus I added a lot of my own stuff because Balthazar, even though he's like Cole, he's his own character. He's more of a Terminator type demon, he's going to freaking kick ass and not say a lot. And,
yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the Grimlocks for a quick second. When you came in, because the Grimlocks were from season 1, did they show you clips from that first season episode?
No,
they didn't.
Not at
okay.
All. No,
because,
not at all.
Because technically the ones that you play are supposed to be the ones from that first episode. It's them coming back to life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I didn't know anything about that. So it was, it's funny when they come up to me, they said, hey, they really like what you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, you sure it's me, not the other guy? No, it's you. They really like what you're doing. And the director even said, I read in my blog, the director said that he thought that you were probably one of the most talented actors he's worked with in a long time. I'm like, really?
Wow.
Me? Like, so that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's funny. So, yeah. So Janor and Kava are the names in All Hallows Eve, but in season 1 they didn't have names. They're just technically the same ones coming back. Yeah. So there we go. So when you did Balthazar, it took like a long time to get into the makeup and prosthetics and stuff. You said like what, 3 hours?
About three, about 3.5 to 4 hours every day. And then that was from just from the neck up, whatever, the hands. And then, but the scenes or the episodes where I did from the waist up, that took a lot longer. That was like a 4 or 5 hour, excuse me, experience. So like a hiccups, but that one took a lot more. And it's funny, the first time we did that, they're doing all the airbrushing and they didn't realize all that red paint's going all over the trailer right inside it. So after the first episode, inside the trailer was getting red, and they're like, crap, this is going to be expensive to fix this. So they cardboarded the whole inside. They took cardboard everything. Yeah. So pretty cool.
Because I do cosplay a lot. I do conventions as a cosplayer.
Okay.
And I did Dragon Con in Atlanta one year, and I actually got body painted as like this torn, ripped suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was like head to toe kind of, but parts were left bare. But that took about 5 hours, and I thought that was a long time. And I went into a party afterwards, and I was too tired to wash it off, so I went to bed like that, and I had paint all over the sheets. So
yeah, same thing. I actually, you and I share some of the same experience. One night we went from it was a whole body thing from the waist up. And we got into the thing, and then they ran out of time to shoot my stuff. And they said, hey, we're kind of screwed here. I'm like, well, how about I just go home with this on? And they go, you would do that and come back in the morning? I said, yeah. So that's what I did. They sprayed all this stuff called sealer on me, and then hopped in the car, and it was like probably 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, something like that, and drove home. Remember pulling up next to an intersection, and a bunch of dudes like, hey, dude, man, that's some serious makeup, man. Dude, really? All that stuff. So it's pretty funny. So it's good.
Yeah. So I consider like Balthazar kind of like, it's like a Bruce Banner Hulk situation.
Yeah, there you go. One of my favorite TV shows back in the day. So I know exactly. I used to watch the Hulk so much that he would always Bruce Banner would turn into Hulk at 20 after and 10 till. You could time it. You could
Wow.
time it. So
Yeah.
when I was at like during the off season, when I was playing football in college, in the off season, going to parties or whatever. Like this on, I think it came on Friday nights or Saturday nights. I forgot when. But if I was at a party, I would have to find a TV to watch, turn it on, and watch it at 10 till, and then at 20 after and 10 till. They
Nice.
had it timed. So it's pretty crazy.
How do because Cole had a huge relationship with Phoebe, and I consider like Balthazar like kind of like his own person, like he's just like in the same body. So how do you think Balthazar would have felt or feels about the Phoebe situation? How do you think he felt about Phoebe?
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I I think I think some of Cole would have came through. I don't think he would have harmed her, but he's also a guy who's on a mission, right? So
Right.
his goal is to kill her, and he's the one to do it. So I don't know. He might have been a little torn,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of when I remember playing that. It was a little bit. I that's the kind of choices that I made was I would have been conflicted, on that, but I still would have done my job. So
Right.
because I got the orders from the source,
Right.
I suspect.
Yeah, it's interesting to think because how much because I do consider them different. Like how much would they have to like collaborate? Like it's like Bruce Banner and the Hulk, they have to probably like work together and communicate to each other and
Yeah, yeah,
and decide what they're gonna do as a team.
yeah,
um
yeah.
Balthazar was originally he was technically vanquished by a power stripping potion, not a vanquishing potion.
Hmm.
Um, but I was like, is Balthazar himself a power? I don't consider Balthazar himself a power. So I feel like he should still exist somewhere in the ether.
Yeah, that'd have been nice, but all things have to good things come to an end sooner or later, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
But they did have after this was a year after you left the show. There was an
Hmm.
episode where Cole kind of reverted back to his Balthazar form,
Hmm.
and it was a missed opportunity to bring you back. They could have brought you back, but they just said he's
Yeah,
Balthazar now.
during that time I was super busy. I remember I was doing I think I was doing Undisputed with Bing Rames and Wesley
Oh,
Snipes. Yeah, so I was doing that. I was doing a bunch of TV shows. I had a stunt double, but I guess it wasn't working out with that. And so um yeah, I was super busy then. I remember doing My Favorite Martian. I did that, and then I jumped about 3 or 4 movies in a row and I was squeezing in
gotcha.
uh, Charmed. So
Yeah, you were
and
definitely a workaholic.
yeah. So if they would have said, "Hey, we're going to make you series regular," then I'd have been okay. Then they would have had me, but they didn't.
Right,
They just said
right.
recurring character. So come on when you can. And I tried to make my schedule as flexible and open to them as much as possible because I really appreciated what was happening, at the time. So,
Sure.
but when you're an actor, you're going from gig to gig, and you're blessed when you land a role, and because there's so much competition, there's so much, rejection, and so when you get on that role, I kind of draw the analogy to like a hamster wheel, right? So the hamster wheel's going around, around, and you're the hamster trying to get on, and there's other people are on the hamster wheel and they're going around, but you can't find a way to get on the darn thing, right? And then you
Yeah.
finally get on and you're good. You got to stay on the hamster wheel, man. You're going. But then once you get knocked off, it's tough to get back on again. Sometimes you do, and you run a little, have another good run or whatever. And so
Yeah.
it's weird with my career. I started with movies, and then I jumped and did a ton of sitcoms. Then I did some episodics, went back to doing movies. They go on these spurts of different types of genres that I would work on. So it
Right.
was good. It was a good run, and I had
Yeah,
a fun
that's
time.
good. That's good.
Very, very blessed. Very blessed.
Then you went on to do Shax, which is another iconic charmed demon character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on this podcast, I have a best baddie ranking thing where people vote on who the top baddie was of the 10 of books, and Shaq's got number one. So what do you think?
Really?
Yeah. So what do you think it is about Shaq's that people really like so much?
Well, I mean, he kills off Prue, right? So, I mean, that's, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but, and, and I, that was only supposed to be a cliffhanger. It wasn't supposed to be the end of her, right? So,
Right.
but I guess, contract negotiations and whatever happens, and something, well, she's dead, so I'm about to leave her dead. So, but, I don't know all the inner workings of what happened in the background. Doing that character, you believe, you would like to believe that you have a talent as an actor, right? So part of that talent is, and what makes common sense or makes sense, period, is, I can't play Shax like Balthazar, right? They go, hey, that's the guy from to play Balthazar. What is he doing? So you can't do that. So I made him totally different. He looks different too. Long hair, flowery or kind of billowy type of a outfit. He's demon of wind and tornadoes, kind of situation. And so, I said, okay, how would he act? How would he walk? How would he talk? And I was trying to get the physicality portion down first, and so I'm like, well, he would, with wind, what kind of, and I was studying martial arts a lot back then, because just for the fighting stuff that I had to do with other movies and things like that. So I studied like Muay Thai and, kickboxing and, jiu-jitsu, tons of ground fighting and things like that. And so like with Jeet Kune Do, it's very fluid, and it's, has a little bit of like Tai Chi, and it has those kind of movements. So I
Waterbending.
yeah. So that's kind of how he is. So you think of that, he's kind of windy and kind of flowing, and that's how that is. And so it was like, whatever, all that kind of situation. And then I thought, what kind of voice could I use that would be different and not like Balthazar? And I'm thinking, well, and I was thinking of The Doors for some reason, and Jim Morrison and how he talks, and the end, just that kind of situation. So it worked out well. So it worked out well.
Yeah, I can see Shax being kind of like super smart and just very zen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. You can having a beer with this dude.
Right,
Hey,
right.
dude, after this beer, I'm gonna kill you. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's just like incredibly powerful and insidious, and he's just like a really kind of cool character. So, if anyone's gonna kill Prue, I think he's a worthy adversary, right? I like it.
Yeah, agreed.
There was a significant difference in his look from All Hell Breaks Loose to Charmed Again. Do you know anything about that? Why that was happening? Was it a different makeup artist or something?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why the difference in Shax.
Yeah,
different look.
Because when he first appeared, he was kind of like more of that bluish kind of color, and then when we came back and Charmed Again, it was more of like a gray, and like I don't know. I almost, because I used to think it was almost a different actor, even, but it's still you. It's still you. Yeah, it's still you.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes makeup affects, the team for that. Sometimes, they don't get everything exactly right. I don't know if that's, because every week there was, even when I played Balthazar, the weeks I was on the show, it wasn't always the same makeup effects guy. There was always one guy that was the standard guy. He was like the guy to oversee, but they always bring these teams in, right? And so they have a template, right? They put like a template over my head. They first did everything red, and then they put the like prosthetic piece on my eyebrow, the brow portion, then on my nose, then on my ears, and the teeth, of course, stayed the same type of teeth, but then the red, and then they stencil with the black stripes. For Shax, he was outdoors quite a bit, right? So there was some of that, and I think maybe with the lighting and things like that, it kind of looked different.
Yeah, in All Hell Breaks Loose, we were there during the daytime, and then in Charmed Again, it was nighttime, so maybe that was just the time period. And All Hell Breaks Loose, you were like doing double duty for that episode, because you were doing Shax and you're doing the Source. How many days were you on set? Were you on there a lot?
Yeah, I think so. But the source, I just basically, I was very still. I just used my voice, that I
Yeah.
try to use, my low voice, very commanding voice, things like that. So, that's what I did. It's funny when I first started acting, because I was this big dude, right? I always used a voice that was just my normal voice, which is like kind of like, hey, how you doing? Good, very soft and like kind of upper register. And then when I would go to audition, they're like, yeah, you're not a bad guy, whatever. I'm like, what?
How can
So
you say that?
I know. And then so I went to an acting voice coach, and she showed me and taught me how to change my voice to, dropping down to a lower register. So I'd walk into an audition as the bad guy. I would walk in like, motherfuckers, I'm gonna kill you right now. That's how it's gonna be. That's how we would talk. I
Like,
would
oh,
think
clutch
that in
the
my head.
pearls. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah. And there was times I scared the shit out of people. I mean, it was, just the way I would present myself.
Yeah.
So just walk in, not say a lot. I won't say, hey, how you doing? Hey, my name's Michael. My name's Matt Howard. I would like, what's going on? You ready to do this? Like that, whatever. They knew who I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's what you have to do sometimes, right? So you have to try to help people along. I remember you always audition with the same type of guys, right? And I'd always end up getting all the roles. And yeah, I see this one guy, nice guy, but he'd always show up like in a tank top and shorts, and I'm like, and it's for like a bad guy who's like a mafia dude wearing black. Why would you wear a tank top and shorts? So I learned that what you have to do is try to help the casting director, the directors and producers all help them with their visualization of you being in that role. So dress the part. That doesn't mean, so I remember I did, what's the show? Showtime show, well-known,
Sopranos?
comedy.
Oh, comedy.
Huh?
Comedy.
I think it's Showtime.
I don't know.
William H. Macy's in it, the series.
Shameless.
Shameless. So I did Shameless. Okay. I had there's a part where he's searching through the insane asylum, and then there's this character comes out of the darkness that goes, I can be your Buster, whatever. I forgot what he said. I could be your sister, or I could be your daughter. And I'm wearing a dress and everything like this, right? So how I got that role is I borrowed my wife's slip from a dress, and now it's like super tight on me, right? So, but I fit into it, and I wore it to the Warner Brothers lot.
Nice.
And a pair of combat boots, and that bald headed, walking on the lot with it, wearing a slip in combat boots. Are you freaking at 6'4", 270 pounds at the time?
Again, where are the pictures for that?
I know, but that's how it was. I mean, that's pretty
amazing.
darn crazy.
Yeah.
And so I have that picture somewhere. And that's when I walked in. I remember sitting in the foyer, and all these dudes going, "Really? You went for it?" I go, hell yeah, I'm gonna get this thing.
Mm-hmm. And
I walked in, and they said, you got it. Anybody has enough balls to walk into the office with looking like that has got it. So it worked. So
yeah, you were the first actor to play the Source. There's several actors that played the Source after you, but you were the first.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Iconic. And was it always in the script that he would be covered, or was that just out of convenience, or?
No, it was always like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not to see his face and whatever. So it's like that.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I feel like every character you've done in this series is like super substantial and super iconic for the series.
And I got pretty lucky. So yeah. What's her?
Do you find that a lot of people notice you more for certain roles over others?
Do that what now?
Do you find that a lot of people notice you more for certain roles over other roles? Because you're covered a lot of the time.
Yeah, agreed. People will say, you look familiar. I was in Los Angeles just recently. I live in Texas now, just north of Dallas. But I was in Los Angeles about a couple months ago, and someone goes, "Hey, you're an actor, right?" I said, "Yeah, whatever." So people still recognize me. I think it's mostly from either the sitcoms I've done, or maybe some of the bad guy stuff that I've done, like playing Aryan Brotherhoods or neo-Nazis or things like that, right? So, not so much of the characters, I don't think, like from Charmed or from Hills of
Yeah.
Eyes, or, the list goes on, Star Trek or Babylon 5, or where I'm in prosthetics, right? So not from those, but just from like some of the other characters that I've done. So
The first time I recognized you outside of Charmed was in Master of Disguise.
yes,
because you're yourself.
yeah, agreed. That was a great little role there. So we wanted to do so much more, but Dana Carvey was super nice. When he saw my tape, he goes, "That's the guy right there." He told me, he goes, "I didn't, when I watched this, and I don't see anybody else. That's him right there." So it was great. And the part where I got to sit on his lap, I have that picture on my wall. If I could show it to you, hold on.
Yeah,
get it. Here's a little picture here. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, that's on my wall. That's me and Dana Carvey. So what a great guy.
Yeah.
So
I just remember
really
that.
Cool dude.
Yeah, because that came out like while Charmed was on the air, like shortly after you left, I believe. But yeah, I'll remember that from the movie is like, not turtly enough to be in your turtle club.
Yeah. So all that's great stuff. There's a guy on that show named Vincent Riverside. We became lifelong friends after that. He's the guy who's a shorter henchman guy.
Okay.
So,
yeah, very nice.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So yeah.
All right. So here's a question that might be a little profound. If you could go back and see what your life would have been like if you never got your injury and you just played for the Dallas Cowboys, what would you go back and see it?
Would I want to go back and see it?
Yeah.
Like go back and relive that and not blow my knee out in the whole situation.
Right. I mean, it's
you know what? So that is a good question, and it's profound. And people talk about fate. People talk about how things happen. So if it wasn't for me blowing my knee out, I would have probably made the team. I would probably have played for a few more years. Because the way I played football, I used my head a lot, and I would blow your ass up. I mean, I put a dent in your chest and your face mask, and I've done that. And I'd probably be having some difficulties right now, mentally, with my brain. I suspect I would probably never would have been an actor. I don't know what I would have been doing. Just a different direction. And so, with all the difficulties that I went through, and the depression, the trouble I got into, all those things like that, I would have never wrote the story that I wrote that got optioned. I would never become an actor. I would never met my wife. Would never had the two awesome boys that we have. Living in a nice house. We just bought 15 acres in Texas. We're going to move out there, build a house on a river. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's happened because I blew out my knee. So,
right.
That's one thing you have to learn sometimes, is that I always try to look at the positive side. It's tough though. Gosh, it's tough. When because I talk to a lot of people, like, this is a funny thing. I always tell people this, but I take Uber quite a bit. Right. And so I always talk to people. I get to, talking to people about different things. I remember I was in Baltimore and I met two dudes and we hung out for the whole day. I bought them lunch. We're just talking and chilling, going over, what are you guys doing right now in your life? And they're just two young guys, like skirting on the edge of being in jail, just doing enough to keep out of the way. And I said, this moment that we were sharing, like what you and I are sharing together, we'll never get back again. This time's gone. Those words I just said are gone forever. And so, you got to really try to make the most of it. Nothing wrong with playing video games, and everybody does it. You will not see a video game on my computer, on my phone, nothing, because it's great. I'll find other ways to entertain myself, but I want to do things that propels my career. I'm in my 60s. I know that seems like I'm like, I'm the grandpa. I'm way far away from grandpa, but I'm at the grandpa age for sure. But I have a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go hard till the end. I don't want to like sit back. People talk about, oh, I'm going to retire in a couple of years. Not me. I'm going. I have a ton of stories I want to tell. I want to write. I want to win an Oscar as a writer. I'm not going to win it as an actor, but I want to win it as a writer. I want to work so hard at it and just study and become, a craftsman at writing. I love it.
That's wonderful.
So,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And because this podcast usually covers books and novels,
yeah,
I'm curious, if you were to write like a charm story, what would it be about?
That charm story would start with that's kind of how it's written itself already. You know, a guy who does a guest star role, and on this episode, not knowing what the show is going to be or what it was or the fan following, I just thought it was another gig. You know, I just do my best, and next thing you know, it turns into something that how many years from now we're still talking about it.
Right.
And that's a great story, right? So It just shows you the possibilities of how things can happen or how things can turn out, right? You just don't know. And so I read somewhere, and I listen to a lot of people when they talk about motivational. I love listening to people's life stories, and my nose is running because when I get serious, sometimes my nose starts running for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at this. So, but they just, talk about opportunities and making those things happen. It's like when my older son, who's an Army Ranger, right? He's now a quarterback at Central Michigan, and he's fighting, to get the first string spot. And, he might get it, he might not, but he's working his ass off to make it, And I told him, I said, listen, you're going to go in the military and you want to be an Army Ranger. You want to be the best of the best. You want to be the 1% of 1%. So I was in the 82nd Airborne as a paratrooper. So I'm 1%, but he's going to be a higher level than that. It's going to be 1% of 1%. So that's where he's going to be. Being an Army Ranger is a special operations unit. Only 30% graduate from that course to even become an Army Ranger. And I said, you're going to get opportunities. So he went into basic training, not having any kind of contract or guarantee that he was going to be an Army Ranger or at least try out for it. So he went around and asked everybody, where's the Ranger recruiter? Where's the Ranger recruiter? I told him, this is what you need to do. And he did it. And he just took it. And next thing you know, he got an opportunity and he took it. And so these are opportunities that happen. And once you get those, man, you got to take it and run with it.
Sure.
Same thing as football. The same thing as being in the job. Why are you doing average things at your job? If you just try to do a little bit better than the next person or whatever that is, try to do better, that'll pay off tenfold. By your boss will notice that. And next thing you know, you're going to get promoted. You're going to get all these great things. You'll get a raise. You'll get recognition. This becomes a habit, right? There's a reason why most people, there's a reason why that word average is in the dictionary, because most people are just average, unfortunately.
They don't want to put in the work. Yeah. Agreed.
Most people like that. That's why only a few get B's and A's, right? Shoot for the A, man.
Yeah.
Got to shoot for the A, and you might get the A or you might get a B, and that B's pretty damn good still. So, right?
Yeah.
Get it. So
right.
Great things will happen.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I guess we're running out of time, but I do have a few write-in questions that I got from people. So let's see. Mr. Mock Turtle says, how do you think that Balthazar could have successfully killed the sisters?
Well, he fell in love. That's what happened.
Right.
So that, there's a conflict there. Those darn women, they always,
yeah.
Yeah.
What I have two like this. So Matthew Wyatt and Halosphere want to know if there were some memorable behind the scenes moments that stick out to you.
Let me see. I think one of those is like when I was playing Janor as the Grimlock, and then they asked me to play Balthazar. That was really, the feeling of that was just great. I think I have a photo somewhere of Holly Marie Combs on my shoulder, and then I have other shoulder is the stunt double, her stunt double. So
I've seen that
like this.
I've seen that. It's very fun.
Yeah, at Shaq's.
Yes.
So I saw that. So I have it's a Polaroid of that. That was memorable. Just the people that I got to know, and it's funny. It's such a close knit group. Hollywood is in general. A lot of people that working on that show, I went and done movies and have worked with the same makeup effects people or the same, someone that's grip or electric, those guys. So it's I think just the experience, meeting the girls, Shannon and Alyssa and Holly, and then, what's her name?
Rose.
Yeah, Rose. Oh, Rose McGowan. Super nice ladies. Super cool. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I've met all of them except for Shannon. So I'm still waiting, but I know it's really hard now that she's been sick and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
she's been sick battling cancer. Hopefully she beats it. So
yeah. Forever Charmed P3 asks, what was it like working? Oh, never mind. That's that one. What was it like working with the sisters? But you really liked. We kind of covered that already.
Yeah, I did. And it just they just were great. So I have always a good experience. So I know there's always been like, they were this or that, but no one's perfect, right? And so sometimes you catch people on a bad day, but they were always nice to everybody that I saw. So
yeah, I've had really good experiences when I met them too, and I have nothing to complain about. So Legend, well, I'm not going to ask that question because it looks like they're all nice. I said, who was the nice person you met? Everyone.
I thought Alyssa was super nice. You know, I mean, she was super nice. She'd always come up and like give me a hug or kiss on the cheek, as Balthazar, saying, well, you're not scary.
I recently was on a Zoom chat with Alyssa. It was a whole group chat of us. And she commented on that. She's like, I just wanted people to know the actor behind them. I wanted to know that there's still humanity in them. And such an Alyssa thing to say, but it's beautiful.
I think she's trying to reassure herself that, he's not scary. You're not scary.
Yeah. So I think that's all the main ones here. Yeah. So I guess we're pretty much done. Any other words of wisdom that you want to end with?
No, I mean, I think I'm good. You're a great guy. I appreciate you, seeing me at Days of the Dead. I think we've built a nice little friendship, and I wish you the best, and definitely a great holiday coming up, and 2022. I know with all the craziness with COVID and all these variants and all this, I don't know all that stuff, but my thing is just keep driving hard, taking those opportunities, chasing your dream, attain your dream. That's what I do every day. Right. So I'm not going to let stuff slow me down. I'm going to be smart, but I'm not going to let stuff slow me down. Right. So I think that's super important. Yeah. Just to have fun, man, and smile and laugh. Right. Yeah. Just have fun, enjoy, and take in the day. And like my window is open right now in my office, and every morning I always pop it open. It's dark when I start. I normally start work around 5 a.m. And so it's dark, and I love when the sun comes up and I can see it. It's really good.
Yeah. So. Don't take life for granted. Yeah, I love that.
It's true, though, man. I mean, that sounds cliche, and oh gosh, everybody says that, but gosh, I mean, it just, a lot of people don't know this, but in January, I had a pulmonary embolism in both my lungs.
Wow.
So I was not supposed to survive that. The doctors told me that. So that pulmonary embolism, I had 2 big blood clots in both my lungs. Not small ones. I had big ass ones. And so it was kind of scary. And so I don't know. They don't know what it was from, but it happened. And so I just makes you really realize that every day is a blessed day. Right. So, and I know it's kind of freaking weird and sappy, but it's true, man. Just enjoy life. Put a smile on your face and just like, wake up in the morning going, damn, another day to kick some ass. Right.
Exactly. Right. Go get it. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. This was fun. I'm glad we got to meet. I'm glad we got to talk. I'm so grateful that you came and decided to chat with us today.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, sir. And thank you for everything you do. And thanks for being a big fan of Charmed and keeping keeping it alive. Keep
yeah. Yeah. It's never dying in my eyes. I've been obsessed since I was 10. So it's been a long time. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Take care.
Bye. And as always, you can follow this podcast at Words of the Witches on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or Words of Witches on Twitter. There is a video version of this interview on YouTube right now, so if you listen to this and you want to see us in all of our chatty action, go there. And remember, your destiny still awaits.